need my microphone in the right place. Welcome. This is fun. Check this out. There's a weird timing thing going on. I gotta tell you, I've been like going, what is going on? That's right. Go here. Yeah, it's playing weird. Welcome. So my name's John Skippy Limcool. This is a live stream. Fingers crossed. Yes, I'm using a better camera that is not interlaced. So if I go like this, it has zebra things and there's a delay. I have to decide if I want to use this camera. I'll probably go to using the GoPro. I think its processing is a little bit faster to get the feed to HDMI and out. But welcome. Today is going to be a fun live stream. I've got some fun things to show you. There's a new library in the works that will be out next week. Let's see here. This is the working artwork for it. We're not totally done yet, but it's called Cinefire. It was going to be called Filmic. And there's an iPhone photo editing app called Filmic. So I didn't really want to go there. And it just Filmic. It just didn't sound right. But I like Cinefire. It's got a cool little bit of energy to it. I have a cool concept I've applied to that. I'll show you that. The good folks at Baby Audio have sent me their parallel compressor to do New York style parallel compression. So I will be showing that today to you. So you can hear the difference and why do you want to use parallel compression? We'll call up a groove inside of one of the libraries for Breaktweaker and a couple other places and apply this really cool stuff. We'll play some different things and then put parallel compression on so you can see the difference. It's cool that it's one plugin and it's not like sidechaining and needing to do other things to get a really cool kind of pumping sound. But it's more pumping within its sound. So it doesn't do what the LFO tool and the gatekeeper and all the other things that do that type of sound manipulation goes. Looking at the chat, good to see lots of names. Ivar, you got the link. Good. Color looks good today. Better light and better camera. Now let's see if we get the sound to line up. Yeah, no guarantee because there's always going to be something go wrong because that's just live. That's why I love live so much. I'm talking to you. You guys are talking to me. It's feedback and it's all good. So I think this coming week is the week that a big announcement happens. So next week in the live stream, I can show you something really cool that I was a part of, but it hasn't been officially announced yet. So I will stay mum. I will not say anything about what is coming, but there's something cool you guys will get to find out about here pretty soon. So let's look at this new library first. Maybe towards the end, we'll do a bit of make a couple of these types of patches. It just depends on timing. I've got this really weird thing happening. It wasn't doing that earlier. So Cinefire is going to have multis as well as patches. Let's see here. I was over on Breaktweaker, so we're going to get back here. All sorts of things like this. There's rhythmic elements and all that's built-in automation into the patch. Oh, we don't have a keyboard showing us. So here, let's go get show MIDI. Sorry about that. So you can see, I've just moved the mod wheel. There's some things on the other mod controllers. I'll show you all these in detail. I will show you this one. This is really cool. So last week in the live stream, some people mentioned John Carpenter. And so one of the tracks that I listened to was the theme to there's something like Assault on Precinct 13, something like that. I don't have the exact name in front of me. But I really like the... and it had this cool drum groove. So I made a drum groove like the OMG libraries, like low C, triggers this drum groove. Cheesy, analog-y. So that's in the works. Now, on the patch side is where things have been really great. I've worked my butt off. In fact, for some of these, I'm not even going to show you parameters to these. We'll stay on the main page like this so that I can show these, but I can't show you how I'm doing this yet. I'm going to keep it a secret because this is like literally days of work to get something to work the way this is working. So let me call these up. This is so part of Cinefire. This is the old artwork. As I think I showed you the artwork that we're working on. This is more the way it's going to look. This is what it was called, Filmic. And it was film. I like this look a lot better. But one thing it's going to have is a whole lot of like string performance articulation things, using the arpeggiator and using the parameters. No samples added. This is just stock Omnisphere to do this. You wouldn't believe how much work it took. Let me move this over here. I can play some parameters. If I want more bow or less. And I actually have real-time controllers set up so that I can this is really fun. Here's your, I'll just play it. So I have string performance kind of things coming from Omnisphere that took a long time. The audio is a little low compared to other videos. Let me see here. No, shouldn't be. No, we're at 0 dB for that mix and stuff. Hopefully, is the volume okay? Then there's 8th note and 16th note passages. I mean, these patches are not finalized, so I don't know if I'm out. Oh, here. That should be a little better. Yeah, the Omnisphere is down just a little bit. So I start from simple and don't do me like that. and sounds. And I've layered these with like legitimate like contact string libraries, and it's really cool. It's got a different color to it. I'm purposefully giving it their own signature. And they work fast. So you can do all sorts of cool string articulated things like this. 16th notes, even fast, are really cool for the. And then you could go over here to the ARP. I wish there was a slider for the velocity to control that. They don't have that. That would be really cool. I have volume control as a mod control. And you can control the rosin. Right? Stuff like that. They get even more hairy. There's 105 beats per minute. And again, you can go to the patch itself inside. There's no rosin. And you can control. So they're kind of in a component format, kind of similar to what you'd have on a D50, where it's kind of that. So that took a lot of my week to get just those string patches made, because it took a lot of just experimenting and stuff like that. There's other things coming. I have like pulses showing different techniques of how to make pulses. In fact, let's do this. No, it's too hard to get feedback on this, but there's 4 different techniques that I'm showing to start with, and there's actually more than that. But this is using just a single LFO. These I don't mind showing these. Simple LFO pulse. Number 2 is not using the pulse, but using a mod envelope. So it's like you can control your own LFO shape. And if you have this out a little bit, I find it gets rid of the click. So you can control the shape. When you're using an LFO, it's like this shape, right? Well, because this is an envelope that you can change the curvature. Okay. Technique 3 is using the 2 together. I'm using the LFO on the volume, and I'm using the mod envelope on the filter, which makes you get oh, this is supposed to actually be. I probably want this one to. I'll fix this when I'm done, but if I snap, I want this to be. On each one. So then you control the shape of just the filter component in the pulse, because pulses, once you have this shape and the way that you want it to work, you can go surfing through all the waveforms. Right? You can go to samples, you can go anywhere. You could go to samples. even to other libraries like Signs of Life. Go to those pad sounds and stuff like that. Use these. And then work with a filter. If you want to double snap it and turn off snap. So you'll have all these controls to work with these different techniques. Technique 4, I believe, let me look at my notes. Envelopes to shape the sound, but when you take your hands off the keys, the sound dies rapidly. So that's the thing with LFOs and even the envelopes is... Oh, so this is using... Okay, so technique 4 is now going to a way that if you play like this, you take your hands off, you can't have like decaying pulses. So technique 4 is using the arpeggiator. So it can ring out like a bell or like a pluck. And then technique 5 was, I think, adding the envelope to the amp of the ARP, or to the filter of the ARP. I just started working on these yesterday. So I'm making a lot of basics that you just use over and over again that are made in different techniques. So you can use different ones. Then there's preset ones that are... Right? Now this is using the envelope wave, which means that you take your hands off, it goes away. And it doesn't ring out. So if you wanted to do this in the way, I'll have it probably set up and saved where it's like 8th notes. Go boom, boom, boom. Turn this on 8th notes. And have it be chords, so it plays everything you play. Here it goes back up like that. So we'll say, let's not have it loop. And have this down. And polyphonic. That way this can have a long release. And then whenever your release is here, right? So I'll have all these types of variations on pulses. Then the Cinefire theme is going to be found in things like this, where I have really cool motion. Cool sounds. Then there's a Fire version. Which means there's distortion and motion. All sorts of things are going to happen. Right? So cinematic string articulations, a library of pulses and all sorts of different techniques, and then a whole bunch of BPM. Here's the Fire version. Right? Time passing by. And then the Fire version. So I have a lot more things to put fire to. There's rhythmic TikToks. I'm going to make a whole bunch of other percussion stuff this week. I recorded a whole lot of Animal Planet, predatory animals attacking and killing things, because the music they used was really cool. He's in the forest. He thinks he can catch it, but he doesn't know the truth about that animal. It can run 5 times faster than him. So there'll be all sorts of things, drums and... stuff like that. So I have a whole lot of percussion stuff. That's the easy stuff. These strings and stuff were what I wanted to really focus on and get right. So I spent a lot of time this week getting those. So that library is in the works. That should be out like next Thursday, Friday. Yeah, New Attenborough. Yeah, that's me. He's in the field. So there's actually some multis that are kind of like this already. You know, the time passing and stuff like that are kind of set up for Lost in the Weeds. See, the timing is off. I'm curious about something. Just for grins, enlighten me for a second. I'm gonna go to Unify. There's so much going on in Unify. My goodness, it has come a long ways in this week. Shane had a huge week of dealing with a particular thing on our list we really wanted to get right, and he got it right. So we got to give a high five to Shane for the week. I'll show you in a minute if you want to see it. Let me see if this plays right here. It plays right in Unify. It wasn't play right for some reason in Omnisphere. Let me turn off the MIDI effects just to see if that has anything. No. See how it's playing weird in Omnisphere in just native Logic for some reason? But in Unify, plays perfect. So there's something weird going on with my system. I have to figure that out. But let me show you this thing that we've done. We don't have it totally sussed out. But what we have is we have the ability, and I'm just going to briefly explain it. I'm not going to show it in full detail, but we have separated out audio effects and instrument effects for the sets that you make. So like for the factory voicing, you go down the list. These are the ones that have been selected for that subset. And if I was to go to audio effects just for fun, let's go here and say, add a preset, and I'm going to rename this reverb. Got it. Click right here for the moment and say reverb. Oh. This is game changer for me. Reverb, right? So if I select reverb and I search and I say reverb, and it will find all of the reverbs that are currently plugins of mine, and I can say select all of them and add them and save. When I go over here to my effect list to here, I now have a reverb category that shows all of those plugins that are just reverbs. So I can have a reverb, I can have EQ, I can have delay, I can have compressor as separate subsets that I can go through and select when I am working. Because I don't know about you, my friends, but when I go to this list of audio effects and it's company names and Universal Audio is a list like this, it drives me nuts. And so on top of the ability of this turning every plugin into a multi, because you can load as many layers, we now have the ability to load presets from right here, so you can split and layer as many as you want. If you love your favorite Zebra and you want to have a bass of Zebra and a synth part from Zebra and play them at the same time, that's easy to do. Not only can it do that, but I want it to be that it's so helpful for finding, because we all have tons of effects. Everybody's selling all these things for $29 and stuff. We go, oh, I'll add that. You know, 6 months later, you've got 400 effects. And so I want to have a system that can organize so I can see just one thing of my effects. And I can do that. And if you're a fan of Ableton Live or Cubase, the ability you can show MIDI effects, and you can go right here and choose Cthulhu or something like that and have it show up and route it into a synth without needing multiple channels and stuff. It's really cool. So, and it plays Omnisphere patches right while Logic Pro is not. That's really funny. Actually, you know what? I'm done with this segment, let's say. But I don't understand why, but you heard it. Omnisphere is not playing right for me, rhythmic wise. There's something weird going on. But we're moving on to the next part of our demonstration. I want to talk about, I got contacted this week by the good guys at Baby Audio. And they have created a really cool plugin that is, I don't sell it. They gave me an NFR of it to show you guys how it works, but it's New York style parallel compression in a plugin. Let me see what you guys are talking about. Yeah, Shane rules. So, Unified looks great. Yeah, can't wait. It's going to be, can't wait either, my friends. So, let's just do a drum groove. Right? So, this is I Heart New York, and it's New York style compression. Hear that slap you can get? Here's without it. Bring it down a little bit so it matches. And that's really gentle. You can super spank. If you get too carried away, I would suggest going over and adding a limiter after it. I like the L1 limiter. There's also, even the limiter inside of Logic is fine. But you need something to control the transients and bring it down when it's hitting so hard. Let's bring our output down a little bit. And then bring up the limiter to compensate. And you just get these slappy things. Now I have drums and the bass, and so that makes the compressor work very differently. So you wouldn't, I don't know if I would call this something to put. You could put a little bit of this if you just did it more tame. Say you're doing it on a song. You can definitely get the parts to stick out. Almost too much, but that's where you'd go in and you would get up some additional settings for your input, your look ahead, transients, fatter. Stuff like that. So it's a really cool basic effect, but it does a really cool thing to the mix. Let's try some other drum grooves. Something that doesn't kill my computer. These, by the way, are in Break Tweaker. This is the OMG Groove library. We have 3 libraries for Break Tweaker that have also been converted into Omnisphere. So here's without. Here's how it's much more even. Definitely get more definition. I would pop just a little bit more in the mix to have that in the mix. Let's do this. Let's close. Let's take the bass part. So it's just a groove. Here's without it, and it's kind of flabby. With it, it just sounds awesome. Hear how that shaped it so nicely? This makes it more hyper. That would definitely cut in the mix so much nicer than if it was just... If it's that, you need to do something to it. Yeah, this is all bypass when it's in bypass mode. So it's not an expensive plugin. If you're interested in getting information on it, Baby Audio plugins is right here. Good guys. Had a nice short conversation through email with them. That's also sold on other websites, but it's $29, so it's pretty much a no-brainer for getting something that it's not mirrored in a ton of tools and stuff. It just does one thing. It takes this, turns it into this, right? So that is something to point out. Yeah. Setting good compression levels is so problematic. Yeah. It's an art, and it takes a lot of practice. The other tip I can share that make sure you're doing this when you're working on tracks is have some music that you're comparing to. A lot of times I get mixes from people and it's like, what were they listening to? Because it's like dark and it's soft. And it's like, just play something else that's kind of in the genre you're interested in working in, and make sure that you're speaking that language. It's really pretty basic, but a lot of people don't do that. And it's cool to be pure to your music and not want to be influenced. And I'm just going to listen to music in my bedroom and hear nothing else. But you need to make sure that if you do that, you know what you're doing and that you have the tool set to do what you want to do. You know what you're going to be doing. If you're just arbitrarily going in and doing that just for fun, it quite often the end result sounds like it came from someone's bedroom. So listen to music, do referencing. That can help so much when it comes to taking something and getting it to the next level. It's amazing what it can do to a mix if you spend some time referencing and listening and going, oh, that kick and that bass, I love that, how that works. I don't have that yet. And then soloing and working on things to figure out how to do that. And tools like iHeart New York are going to probably help you along the way, right? Do you guys have any questions? I want to open this up to have a little customer question hangout time. We're going to do some cinematic programming here in a minute. But I want to, if you guys want to hear a certain library pop up, like what is this library? What is it about? I like to do that. I want to do more of that in these live streams. And if nobody says anything, I'm just going to pick a library and start playing it. So, you might as well say something and point something out so that or a question or stuff like that. So some of the other libraries that we have for Breaktweaker, the first one is still one of my favorites. There's so much stuff in here that's just really fun. Okay, someone wants to hear percussa. Let me show you one thing on this. It's really cool. Let's call up a show MIDI so you can see the notes. One thing that we did with all of our Breaktweaker libraries is they are all set up to the same formatting from here to this A. That's where the grooves are. The way that Breaktweaker works, the low octave is where it plays the samples. Each of these 6 lanes, right? Are there for you to play. You could sequence just using that without anything else. So every one of these grooves, all 6 lanes have sounds to use. Then what happens in Breaktweaker that's really cool is each of those lanes have sequences so that, so if I solo just this part, say I wanted to have something added here, but this one here, I want it to be repeated for 39 times. And I want it to slope. Oh, let's have it do a fade. Have it do a fade in. Fade in. Why aren't you fading in? You also have tension. Where's the other tools here? We have tension for the speed amount. So we want to start really fast and go slow. We have effects, but right here, it's tricky to get this to work, I remember. Right? So each one of these events equals a little box. And each note, we have them set up on a standardized, so that the main groove is C, E, and E flat and F are fills. So you can go to those when you want, and they get more complex. Right? And then each one of these follows that. Oh, above that, if we were to go back, we have the breakdowns. No snare, no kick. Just a hi-hat energy. And then the snare is always on A. So that's the way it works with all of these in all three libraries. And they have a type of a compression that's built into this. It's interesting, called this intensity and none. You find a hybrid in there. I would rather use I Heart New York. So let's call I Heart New York back into this thing. Here's without it. Yeah. Here's without any of it. It's much more controlled with I Heart New York than there. So many fun ideas in these grooves. And if you want to sound like BT with all the cool broken, it's fun. Very, very fun stuff. So those libraries and stuff, everybody wanted, we had percussa. Hi, Lazek from Poland. Good to see you, man. Can you show an example of step recording with your stuff? Not right now. Step recording is a technique in your sequencer, and that's not really the thing I want to show right now. So we could go on and on. I'll point out this. So the OMG Mega Magic Drums version of the Break Tweaker libraries is using my drum kits from Mega Macho Drums. All of those got converted into this format. In fact, if you go to the folder, you can go to, if it's just regular like hi-hat or kick, these are all drum sounds from Mega Macho Drums that have been put into Break Tweaker format. When we get to OMG drums, I hired NATO Fields, Airwave, and I think one or two other, Toby Pittman. And they made grooves using their own sounds, so they had more focused on what they did. So Airwave is all these techno things. Toby's really into the pop and hip-hoppy kind of things. Where's some more Toby Pippin? Right? NATO Fields, he's all into, and he does the next library, urban. So he's into the trap and all. Did a couple filming things. The trap is for NATO. And Urban is just NATO all by himself. And me, I did some too, so. Right? So, love the Break Tweaker stuff. So, that's them. Hey, Jim, Shannon. So Percussa. Percussa is a favorite because it does so much kind of unique stuff. Let me see if the timing is going to work feel-wise. Oh, wow. Uh-huh. I have never seen that before. Yeah. Wow. That is called Strange. Let's see. No plugin. Go up here. Like I said, we're live, so of course something weird is going to happen. It's probably going to crash on me if I'm lucky now. Hello? Yeah. So that is really weird. Okay, let's do it this way because it's doing something I've never seen it do before. And of course, it's doing it right during a live stream, right? And it's locking up, maybe. Oh, this is fun. If I crash, I'll be right back. Just don't go anywhere, okay? So let's get out of this. I'll be right back. Hang on. Yeah, what's everyone working on at the moment? That's a good question. Has anybody got interesting projects that they're involved in? I'm doing some video editing for some promotion stuff. I just got done with something with the Plugin Alliance that came out really cool. Percussa. Let's see here. We got to go to multis. Let's see how this works. If we go to something kind of crazy, 135, 135. All right, we are back. This is really interesting. So let's go to multi-mode, percussa. Don't crash this time, please. Percussa, Shadow of Death. Load it up. It's here, play. Hey, it works. So percussa is interesting because the idea and the goal was to do cinematic percussion. This is part of the Cine series called Cinesphere series. Omnipulse 3, the new library, is part of the Cinesphere series. And so these are different variations on things using both samples that are part of Mega Macho drums that aren't so well known, as well as sounds built into Omnisphere, but using the arpeggiator, going crazy on all sorts of parts for all of these things that are happening. Right? So that's all. Let's get show MIDI showing. This is fun because the mod wheel makes it go into this like dreamy state. Right, so you go between these two states. And what's fun is each one of these parts this one's hidden until you bring up the mod wheel. These are all independent, separate patches. So you can use just a couple of these components that you like. If you go to the patch mode of Percussa, I think it was like over 600 patches or something just insane. Because we pulled out everything and we categorized it by low energy, mid energy, and high energy. So depending on that, what you wanted, Robert Dudzik added a whole bunch of sound effects from dropping cars and stuff as a bonus that's been added to the library. So if you go up here to the top, I did Imagine Believer. This is using some of those hits and stuff. And we can speed it up because it's a little bit slow. So, hello. Tambourine comes in. Xenomorph Radical is using more of the Robert Dudzik hits and crazy. And this one is 130 beats per minute. And again, the timing is weird. So let's do this. Once again, Unify is going to save the day. We'll go Unify. Call up Omnisphere, please. Spectrasonics, Omnisphere. I don't know what it is. This is the weirdest thing, but now it all crashes again, right? And we go here, we say Omnipulse, or Percussa, Xenomorph. Now watch how differently this is going to play. It's going to play and like the timing is going to be incredible. And see how it's all tight? We'll just stay right here and have Unify host inside of Omnisphere, inside of Logic. We'll keep it here in the corner. Mod wheel up. And I don't need show MIDI because that's built into Unify. So here, let's say show me keyboard. There we go. So there's all of these grooves. There are so many and they get pretty crazy. Let's get to 150 beats per minute. Oh. hyperdrive cooldown. Looking for lunch. Hello. I'm looking for lunch. Where'd you go? Losing blood quickly. Oh, we're gonna crash again or something. Why me? Oh, you'd think this would be so easy and effortless and work so nicely. Let's see. Let's just call it built-in sampler works. So go back to Omnisphere. Omnisphere. And go to multi-mode, percussa. Go to these 150 things that are super cool. We're looking for lunch. Load it up. And it won't play. Strange. And now my audio is dying out. Okay. Let's see if we get stuff back. It's still broken. I'll be right. All right, we have audio back. I am sorry about this, guys. I have to figure out what's going on. There's a couple things in Logic that have been like, that's weird. I didn't do that before type of thing. I'm going to try this one more time. If this doesn't work, I'm just going to say, okay, well, this has been a fun live stream. I have more work to do, obviously, with the library, so I'll just go do that work. And so there's stuff like this. So you have cool things going on. Turbo Kid. Sounds good. It's working. Seal Electronics. The Dehumanizer. Love that. Now, next to each one of these, you see Kit. That allows you to use these also in a mode where each sound is mapped across the keyboard. So all the cool hits. Are there to play with. Dance with a Half Pipe is another one that this is one that Airwave did that I just love. That's more shaped. Here's without it. Yeah, so it's kind of flat. This definitely accentuates the hills and the valleys. Right? And again, let's turn this off. You could go to each one of these and solo them. Maybe we just want these guys and pan them left and right. Just use that and start writing a song now on other tracks using other parts. So it's really easy. You know, if you're going to do that, I would probably just go in and turn the volumes down, or even better, clear out the parts. Go over here to stack and say, remove this part by right-clicking on each one of these little boxes. That way it's not playing. You get all that CPU power back for you to work with, right? Oh, I had a customer question. That's right. I wanted to work with you guys and show you something kind of cool. Is the volume of an instrument layer? Oh yeah, all that's automatable. Let me see here. So let me get you this customer question. This is a great customer question that kind of took me by surprise in a way, but it was something that was cool. Let's see here. Where's he at? So here is his question. Let me go to text edit and new document and paste. So here is the question. Hey, Limcool. I know you're busy. I apologize for asking you. If anyone knows the answer to this question, you do. I want to erase patches that I am not going to use for a specific project. I want only project-related patches loaded into Omnisphere and the rest deleted. Do you know how to do that? Because I want to give your presets a little more real estate in Omnisphere and optimize my workflow. So there's actually a number of ways to do this. So I wanted to share some ideas. If you want to do this, and you don't have to delete all the patches in Omnisphere. First of all, you can't delete all the patches in Omnisphere. All the patches in Omnisphere, they reside, if we go to our Steam folder inside of Omnisphere and you go to patches, let's close this up, and we go to the settings library, to patches, the factory patches are all right here. And they reside in a database file compressed, all joined together. So you can't delete those. There's no individual patches to delete. So there's a couple different ways you can go about doing something like that. One of the easy, if you're familiar and comfortable with working inside of your folders here, if you notice, I think this is still the case with every version of, let's just select all and close them. Every Omnisphere has a thing at the very top that says current categories.zip. And if you double click this, it will make a folder which has inside of it all of the categories that Omnisphere is currently using for the patch directories. And it's important that you save into each one of these categories, because when you go to a patch, if you're in the patch page, and if I'm on wherever I'm at, let's say I'm in Viola, and I just so you see, if you go save patch as, you save this into a folder. And by doing that, it pops up a set of tags related to that folder name. So if it's base, I get base options to choose from. If it's choir, I have men, women, all that kind of stuff. So you need to use this organization. You can also use just the user folder right here, which has a similar, all the different categories that you can save things in. If you save patches just to the user folder, then when you go to Omnisphere and you just say user folder right here, it will only show you those patches in this list. So that's one way, is just to save and then save to the user folder. If you want to go from all over the place in different libraries and you want to organize it, you can do this where you actually use, oh, did I close? I should not have done that. Go back to Steam, Omnisphere, settings, library, patches. Like for example, for this, I made, instead of user, I made a separate thing called my super secret film project. And once you've done this, where you've double clicked and you have the current categories, you can drag this to the, oh, I can't because it's not named yet, but name it new library or whatever you want to name it. And you need to put one patch into it. Go to like RPPM from some library and move one of the art BPMs and hold down Option so you're not moving it, but copying it. And then restart Logic. And then, because right now, since I've made that folder, I've done, this won't show up until I quit Logic and, or what my DAW is, and reload it. And you'd want to, now since I've renamed it, I could take this new library and bring it out here so it's at the top level. It won't see it if it's hidden level. But if I wanted to add something else to my super secret library, let's say I wanted to add a couple pad sounds for, I'd gone through and played and I knew that Lost in Tokyo was one I was going to be using in this project. So I'd go up here and I would option to copy it into the pad and strings folder of my super secret film project. And because I've stopped and restarted Logic, when I go down here to my directories, I'll have to refresh because I hadn't gotten it to update yet. So this will take it a minute. But it will go through and it will add libraries that are able to be cataloged. It should see the My Super Secret library, and it won't see the new one that I just made, my library, unless I quit Logic and loaded Logic again, because the DAW needs to, there's something in the starting process for Omnisphere where it resets itself. I will say we do not have that problem inside of Unify. If you hit refresh, it will refresh the directories without you having to quit your DAWs and restart everything. So you can go in and you can reorganize things in the Finder and have that reflected really quickly with Unify. So, but Omnisphere works differently. It's got a bigger database system to work with. It's got 12,000 patches. Now, if I go up here, it should show up my super secret film project. If I do this, I've now minimized my list to just this. So that's one way to do it. There's some other ways to do this if you want to control how you see things. If you say all, and you're going through and you're just playing through all 12,000 patches, you can use the rating system. So you go ratings, and this will pop up the ratings right here, even when you're loading through patches. And if I put, let's say, 5 stars for anything that I like. Problem with this, of course, is that, you know, if you've been doing this other libraries, when you get done with this and now you say sort by ratings, at the very top will be my 5-star patches that I've rated. There's another system that's really cool called Marked. Shift click on sound sources. So you can shift and click, and as you can see, that marks them. And I can mark as many as I want through the entire library. Everywhere I want to go, I can hold down shift and click. And then the next time that I say marked, it will take these guys and move them to the top of the list. And the marked ones will show up at the top of the list. So this lets you look between all the libraries if you're this way. But it's temporary, and ratings, again, if you've done some ratings on if you've gone through the library and you've got your favorite patches, this is great for doing that. But if it's for a specific project, it's hard to do that. What's fun, if you do something where you have a My Super Secret film project folder or something like that, you can actually use factory patches. All you have to do is go to the patch. Let's say we just say Omnisphere, all Spectrasonics, that we're dealing only with Spectrasonics patches. Say I wanted to use Bossy Dreads. Oh, I gotta, hold on one second. Let's initialize this multi because it's playing inside of the multi with everything else. Say I wanted to have Bossy Dreads. Where's you at? BOSS. Bossy. The other nice thing is I could just go up here and say Bossy right here. And Bossy Dreads shows up. Clear this so I have. Right? All you got to do is go save patch as, and now you could save this into the user, or if you've started your own Mind Super Secret, you could go, let's see, I want to actually go to ARP BPM and save it here. And I could save factory patches now into a database folder so that it shows up outside of Omnisphere in my Super Secret Film Project folder, and it will only show the library that I'm working on. So if you want to have a set of favorite sounds, you can now send this sound folder of library patches to another friend. Those are like 3 or 4 different ways to use ratings, use marked, save to the user folder. And then what's fun with that is if you want, if you do save to the user folder, for example, one cool thing you can do is when you go to your Steam folder, when that gets to where it's done, you've like built your library using that instead of making a new from the categories, but you go to user and Command D to duplicate it and then rename this my new album project. And now next time you quit your DAW and reload it, and then you'll probably have to go over here and hit the little circle and refresh it, but you'll end up where you have a my new album project. Give it the album title name if you do a lot of albums and stuff like that, but it will show up as something you can pull down from this list to show you just those patches. So there's 4 or 5 different techniques for how you want to go. Cool? Does that make sense? It's really fun to do that type of stuff. If you're working on a certain thing and you want a certain signature sound, so you only want to use a certain set of sounds, it's nice to do it that way. And so that way you can't actually delete the patches of Omnisphere because they're in a database file that you can't touch. But you can save patches from those database files into the user or into a new folder that you've created. Just make sure that if you do this, you're comfortable working in the Finder of your computer. This is comfortable. Moving files around and stuff is something that doesn't make your forehead sweat. And just realize that you'll need to quit your DAW and probably hit the refresh button for it to see it. And if you want it to be patches, make sure you're in the folder that says patches, not in the folder that says multis, because multis is a whole different thing. Multis are over here when you hit the multi tab. This is where you would be calling up things that set up to 8 patches in Omnisphere at once. So that's a whole different thing. Patches is just one of these 8 boxes, okay? And each of those 8 boxes can be its own patch. And then you can go to multi-mode and save it, and it would save that layout as whatever you want it to be. There's a user folder, by the way, for multis as well. So does that make sense? It was a fun question for me to think about. Like, wow, I hadn't thought of somebody wanting to just delete a library, But there's times where you want to simplify and you only want to look at things that you're working on. And if you have a lot of different libraries and you don't want to be surfing from one library to the next, a great way to do this type of stuff, by the way, is you could go like this, and then I'd hold down Control and click on one of these and say open in a new tab, and then just drag the tab so it comes over here. So I can have 2 windows open and right click on here and go to patches. That way I'm looking at the patches here. And then I would go in here to my new super secret film project and I would have it. And again, this super secret came from another, so I don't have all the folder of all the category of sounds like new library. This has all the folders, right? So I could then go to each of these libraries and I could say for the Art BPM, I wanted to have the air hats and this and this and this. Hold down Option, click and drag to the Art BPM folder over here and it copies them. Say, okay, I'm done with that library. Next library is Omni Chill. And again, I want to have from the Art BPM folder, I wanted this and this and this. Hold down the Option button or Alt button and drag and put to Art, if you see a little plus. And that way you can build pretty quickly with one that's showing you all of your libraries and one that's showing you your target library you're going to save the patches into. You can build up really quickly. Go down and write down on paper or use the favorites or use the marked first if you want. And then you could turn that into a library. Or you could actually do this. If it says marked, I believe we can do a thing where, hello, let's say all. That's not all the marked I had. I had marked a whole lot more, remember? Interesting. But you could select a whole bunch of these and then I think use the sharing. There's a way to go share. I've never done that. But you can say share sounds and it would take the patches you selected and share them. Right? So there's the sharing option as well to work with to get sounds that are marked or however you selected them. Can one create a category name my favorite patches? Yeah, there is. Let's see here. So let's see. Let's unmark these. What you would do is when you're saving a patch, Omnisphere works like this. If I go save patch as, and let's save this to the user folder, and it's an abrasive blast, so it's like probably distortion or something like that. Save. Then when I get to type, this would be your category. You can just hit plus right here, and you could say my favorite patches. And it's in here. So now anything that has my favorite patches, you can then also do this. This is another thing that's really cool. If you're looking at existing patches, you can't do this with factory patches because they're in that database file. You can't overwrite them. But if you're looking in a library, now that you have your my favorite patches, right? And you want to add sounds to your my favorite patches category that you've made, all you have to do is hit the folder and then hit edit tags. And this lets you go to the type and go down the list here to M. Where's M? Oh, I don't know if I didn't save that patch. So I'd have to say plus and my favorite patches and then save. By saving patches, by saving tags, the cool thing with this is that you're not having to rewrite the patch. You're not overwriting it. Now I go to the next patch that I like, and I go down here to the list, and I go to the M's. It should be there because I have now LM. Or is it the black ones? My favorite patches. Boom. And I could just go through all of these that I liked and just hit edit tags and add whatever tag I'd created. If you're working on a film project, you go down here to the black area and say, where are you? Now, why aren't you showing up here? Oh, type. It should be, huh? Maybe it's shown up here now? No. It has to be here because once it's been registered, yeah, my favorite patches right here. So you could do that. And now when you're at the very top level, if you go to type and go down the list, you will see that it's there. My favorite patches, and those patches will show up. So if you're working on a film project, you can also use tags. But again, that doesn't work when you're, I don't think you can do that to actually the patches that are inside of the Spectrasonics library itself. If you call up something from Mello, and let's say it's from just the Omnisphere library, right? So we say Across the Sky. And we hit the folder, we hit edit my tags, and we go to type. And I wish they had a search you could type in the word to and it would find it, but they don't do that yet. Someday, maybe. My favorite patches. Oh, it will save it. Okay. So you can do tag saving. That's right, because that's a separate file that it saves. Good. In the database. So that has been added to the category type. My favorite patches. If I go here. All and it's not category. My favorite patches, and it's there. So yes, that does work, and it does work with factory patches. I forgot. You can't save over the patches and do stuff like that because it's in a database file, but they do have the tagging and stuff as a file separate. So you can modify the tags. So if you do want to add tags, you can edit tags and hit the plus button to add the tag that you want to use. And now you can use that for how you organize sets of sounds for a certain project or something like that. There's so many different ways of organizing the sounds because Eric and team realized they had so many patches they needed to really have a decent, complete database, spreadsheet type of a thing for the patches on how you would find them. It just gets a little confusing for me because their categories are so disjointed. I come from Korg where everything starts from 16 categories and then it goes. But everything has to fit in one of those 16 categories. So I wish category was just like 16 categories and then it would break it down a little more, but that'd probably get more complicated because they have different things. But, it's like all these different synth pads, those should all be like a synth category. It would just help you with organizing things. But everybody does things differently. They're doing their interface. It's been this way for a long time. Yes, you can remove the factory database files. You can remove those if you don't want to see them. And Omnisphere will still play whatever is left. Coxa, thank you for pointing that out. Can one create a category name? Yeah, so we've got that all covered. Cool. So that help? That was a cool question. I like that. I like questions and trying to figure out stuff like that, especially with something as complicated as Omnisphere to work with. It's like, how would you do that? I don't know. So that's how you do it. All right. Well, I'm about to wrap up. I have Borderlands 3 waiting for me to play. That just came a couple of days ago. It's been very hard to work on this library and Unify since Borderlands showed up because I like that game so much. I've played all versions of Borderlands since the very first version. It's a lovely game. Enjoying it. So let's do this. Let's shout out from wherever we are for all 46 of you that are hanging. It's amazing how many people say they love to come watch these after they're done, just because they can't do something during this time of the day and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, you guys are so consistent at just showing up and hanging out. It's really cool. Florida, Arizona. Hey, Gorilla. I haven't seen your name before. Welcome. X50 player, XP, nice. B&A? Where's B&A? Austin, Texas, from the UK for E-Sides. Nice, I'm seeing some names I haven't seen before. Shane, brother Shane from Kingston, Ontario, Canada. Just about the timing. Shout out from Vegas. Right on. Right on, D33 PSP 33D. Deep speed. I like that. Amsterdam, Bernie, good to see you, my buddy. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Yeah, so hopefully this helped. Next week will be a new library available for you guys to get your hands on with all sorts of fun string things. I'm so happy with how these all turned out. Let's see if I initialize this. I'm sorry for the technical problems. That's not normal. I think maybe there's something with these live stream applications, the files that I work with. These are like 6 years old. 5, or whenever I started doing live streams, I've been just saving the same live stream file over and over again. So there's possible that something weird just showed up in them, because sometimes they don't like when you do things like that. But Cinefire, we're up to like 60 patches. It'll be 128 patches when it comes out. And all of these really cool Marcato string things are so... I'll do a couple. Do you guys like these? Should I do a couple more of these? I did one with the beginning, right? The beginning. So you can make it sound really bad if you want. But I'll do a couple more phrasey kind of things. Those are kind of fun. Yeah. So we'll get this all wrapped up to be a fun thing. Check this out for the art for this one. It's doing all of this. So it's fun to put them together, find different things for all these features inside of the arpeggiator. So we're trying to really push that to the limit, get fun things happening there. Right? So good times. Thank you for joining. Good to see you all. We will see you next week. And there might be even more to show. I might have a new library and the thing I was telling you about earlier to show. So it could be really fun. So, yeah. Shout out Omni Mode On from JX3D. Right on. All right. Thank you all. See you later. See you next week. Bye.